The apprentice had said that just as he was about to hang the shutters for the night, a samurai with a long forelock had thrown down a monk near the front door, seated himself on a stool and asked to see the master. Told he was out, the samurai had said that he wanted to have his sword sharpened, but that it was much too valuable to entrust it to anyone but the master himself. He had also insisted on seeing samples of the swordsmith's work. The apprentice had politely shown him some blades, but the samurai, after looking them over, showed nothing but disgust. It seemed all you handle here are ordinary weapons, he said dryly. I don't think I'd better give you mine. It's much too good. The work of a bison master. It's called the drying pole. See, it's perfect. He had then held it up with obvious pride. The apprentice, amused by the young man's boasting, mumbled that the only remarkable feature of the sword seemed to be its length and its straightness. The samurai, apparently offended, abruptly stood up and asked the direction to the Tema Kyoto ferry landing. I'll have my sword taken care of in Kyoto, he snapped. All the Osaka swordsmiths I've visited seem to deal only in junk for ordinary foot soldiers. Sorry to have bothered you. With a cold look in his eye, he had departed. The apprentice's story infuriated them all the more, as fresh evidence of what they already considered to be the young man's excessive conceit. It was clear to them that cutting off Going Tojin's top knot had made the braggart cockier than ever. His sword is called the drying pole. And if we think about what that means, if you think of it in terms of a branch or a stick, when it is dry, it is rigid. It has no flexibility. Again, the symbolism of Sasaki Kojiro, in which he is a talented samurai, but he's rigid. He relies on his tool, and it's stiff. No flexibility. He's not willing to learn anymore. He thinks he's at the top. So the Yoshiokas track down Sasaki Kojiro, and they're set to avenge the Yoshioka school. So here we go. The three fleeing samurai nearly collided with the horse as his rider brutally reined him up short. Recognizing the three, Sujiro scowled furiously. "What are you doing here?" he barked. "Where are you running to?" It's the young master," one of them stammered. Ure Ryohi, appearing from behind the horse, lit into them. "What's the meaning of this? You're supposed to be escorting the young master, you pack of fools. I suppose you were too busy getting yourselves into another drunken brawl." The three, rattled but righteously indignant, spilled out the story of how far from being in a drunken fight they had been defending the honor of the Yoshioka school and its master, and how they had come to grief at the hands of a young but demonic samurai. "Look," cried one of them, "he's coming this way." Terrified eyes watched the approaching enemy. "Quiet down," Ryohi ordered in a disgusted voice. "You talk too much. Fine ones you are to protect the honor of the school. We'll never be able to live down the performance. Stand aside. I'll take care of him myself." He took a challenging stance and waited. The young man rushed towards them. "Stand and fight," he was shouting. "Is running away the Yoshioka version of the art of war? I personally don't want to kill you, but my drying pole is still thirsty. The least you can do, cowards that you are, is leave your heads behind." He was running along the dike with enormous confident strides and seemed likely to leap right over the head of Ryohi, who spat on his hands and re-gripped his sword with resolution. At that moment, the young man flew by Ryohi, uttering a piercing cry, raised his sword over the young man's gold-colored coat, brought it down fiercely, and missed. Halting instantly, the young man turned around, crying, "What's this? A new one?" As Ryohi stumbled forward with the momentum of his swing, the young man swiped viciously at the air. In all his life, Ryohi had never seen such a powerful stroke, and although he managed to dodge it just in time, he plunged headfirst into the paddy field below. Luckily for him, the dike was fairly low and the field frozen over. But he lost his weapon as well as his confidence when he fell. When he clambered back up, the young man was moving with the strength and speed of an angered tiger, scattering the three disciples with a flash of his sword and making for Sujiro. Sujiro hadn't felt any anger. He had thought it would be all over before he himself became involved, but now danger was rushing directly at him in the form of a rapacious sword. Moved by the sudden inspiration, Sujiro cried out, "Ganru, wait!" He disengaged one foot from his stirrup, put it on the saddle, and stood straight up. As the horse sprang forward over the young man's head, Sejuro flew backwards through the air and landed on his feet about 3 paces away. "What a feat," cried the young man in a genuine admiration as he moved in on Sejuro. "Even if you are my enemy, that was really magnificent. You must be Sejuro himself. On guard." The blade of the long sword became the embodiment of the young man's fighting spirit. It loomed ever closer to Sejuro, but Sejuro, for all his failings, was Kempo's son, and he was able to face the danger calmly. Addressing the young man confidently, he said, "You're Sasaki Kojiro from Iwakuni. I can tell. It is true, as you surmise, that I am Yoshioka Sejuro. However, I have no desire to fight you. If it's really necessary, we can have it out some other time. Right now, I'd just like to find out how all this came about. Put your sword away." When Sejuro had called him Ganru, the young man had apparently not heard. Now, being addressed as Sasaki Kojiro startled him. "How did you know who I am?" he asked. So Sasaki Kojiro meets Sejuro. Moving along here, they acquaint themselves and they move along, and Sejuro knows that he's going to have to meet Musashi pretty soon. So knowing that he has Ganru there, he invites him to the temple because, let's move along here real quick. I'll read the last passage. Sejuro, with equal cordiality, said, "Well then, I'll ride for now, and when your feet get tired, we can change places." Sejuro, faced with the certain prospect of having to fight Miyamoto Musashi at the beginning of the new year, was reflecting that it was not a bad idea to have a swordsman like Sasaki Kojiro around. Yeah, so he's planning on using Sasaki Kojiro, put him on his side when he does meet up with Musashi in their assigned duel. So the drying pole is symbolic because it is rigid. Anything dried, anything dead is not flexible. It won't bend. A weapon is nothing. Pride, it will break. Peace, everybody.